Oh my god.
Jesus.
Hog tie Bo's feet.
I've got some,
it worse.
I've got some zip ties. Just move him. He can't be that close to the clamp.
I need you to get up, baby.
Bub.
Can you get up,
Bub,
please?
Bub
up.
You can get on the couch next to Cian. Get up.
Why don't you
Get
go
up.
go upstairs?
Get up. Get up. Get up.
Get up over there.
Bub, get up.
Up there.
Bub, get up.
Good boy.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe now we won't hear. Oh, he's so pouty. He's like,
Well,
you got banished, Bo.
you're kind of being the worst. I'm sorry.
I mean, he was like literally. You can hear him the entire time, being like.
Great. Maybe if it's rhythmic enough, you can cancel it. He's looking at us all resentfully.
He's very hurt.
This is a good pause to get more beer.
Welcome to Media Morsels, the podcast about creativity and the media that feeds it. I'm Jessica, character and aesthetic enthusiast.
I'm Jamie, plot guy, and the summarizer.
And I'm Mitchie, vibe checker and scene chewer.
And once again, we have a special guest this week.
Hi, I'm Cian, aka Chicky.
And we will eventually...
And I will have a specialty eventually.
We're working on that.
Yeah, we're still zeroing in on that. But until then, it is Cian, aka Chicky, is here this week. And as we continue with Alien Mayhem May, this week we watched Mars Attacks, which came out in 1996, or...
Oh, math. Oh no.
5 years...
5 years BS.
Yes, 5 years BS.
See, I'm glad somebody remembers when Shrek came out, because I still can't.
Let's do
It's 2001.
2001.
It's a big year for many reasons. We got Shrek, but then we also had...
Other stuff.
Other
stuff.
Yeah, the beginning of the end.
It's called collective trauma.
Yeah.
We're not getting into that.
Yeah,
Even though the Twin Towers actually feature prominently in this film.
I don't know about prominently. They're
had,
there.
like, 2 shots.
But, I mean,
Yeah.
this is also about the fall of civilization as we know it. But funny.
Yeah.
But you can laugh at it.
But you can laugh.
Make it ham.
And they set Congress on fire.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that surprised me about this movie that I didn't know before was that it was directed by Tim Burton.
And you can really tell
And
when
you
you have that in mind.
Yeah, when you know to look for it, yes, it's very clear that Tim Burton's hand was involved.
So, there's also... Fun fact about this movie, it strangely has like a top A tier almost, like level of casting.
Oh, it's definitely A tier.
There are so many people in this movie that I did not realize were in this movie.
Okay, just like a small like catch-all. You have Jack Nicholson, who's like playing a dual role of the president as well as like a billionaire like landowner dude.
Hotel, sleazy New Vegas. Or not New Vegas. I've been playing at Fallout New Vegas. So, Las Vegas.
Real estate broker.
Same. You have Glenn Close, who plays the First Lady. You have... let's see here. Pierce Brosnan, who's a
scientist.
You have
Natalie Portman, baby Natalie Portman as
the president's daughter.
You have Danny DeVito. You have Martin Short,
Sarah Jessica Parker,
Michael J. Fox, and then like just a couple other people here.
Tom Jones as himself.
And Jack Black.
Baby
Jack Black.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many people.
Oh, and Pam Grier is in this?
Yeah, she's the boy's mom.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I haven't seen her in anything but the L Word, and I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, oh, hello.
Just thick with celebrity.
If you guys aren't aware, this movie also takes place, like, it was made kind of simultaneously with Independence Day, which came out the same year.
And they're definitely like in conversation with each other.
Yeah, that was I was watching this and I was like, was this made after Independence Day? Because it kind of
feels like a parody.
Yeah, it feels like a spoof, but it was like at the same time. So I'm like, was Tim Burton talking to Roland Emmerich? Were they talking?
Imagine And the other one's like, I'm going to take this very seriously. And Tim Burton's like, I'm not.
I'm gonna make it stupid.
I'm gonna make
In
it
that
stupid
case.
and a character study.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's a character study. I think it's just like it's playing.
Tim Burton got to get all of his favorite action figures out and make them smash together and blow up.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't know, some of the hosts on this show actually enjoy that.
Aw, I mean, I do too. It's just kind of like slightly different flavors, I think. But that's why this Mars Attacks, I've seen this movie. It's been around since I can remember as well. But I really think that this qualifies more as a table turner, where it's more that it inspired Jamie and Mitch than it did me. So you guys are probably going to have like a lot more to say about this than I do. Boom! But let's go ahead and enter the appetizer round. All right. So, again, this movie has been around pretty much since I can remember. My parents actually both liked this movie, and that was kind of unusual in our household.
Yeah.
It was, like, usually my mom is, like, the cinephile, and my dad kind of goes along with it. But a lot of things were just, like, a little too outlandish for him. They were, especially, he's not really into a lot of, or he claims he's not into a lot of, like, sci-fi and fantasy stuff. Although, when he actually sits down to watch something, like, I can tell he actually does enjoy it. He's like, that was a little weird, but I'm like, but you enjoyed it. You did. I saw you. But this was one of those movies that they both just thought was hilarious. And it was actually really interesting watching it today because I haven't watched this movie since I was like, I don't know, 10 or 12 or something. So I feel like, okay, I expected to understand more as an adult watching this. But actually, it turns out there's not really a lot of, I mean,
there's a lot of nuance to be had.
It's pretty much
here.
just on the surface. In fact, there's not even a lot of, like, adult jokes that, like, I understand now as an adult and I didn't as a kid. It's not even that. It's just, I think I was able to pull the timeline of the movie together better as an adult, but mostly it's exactly as I remembered. So, like, yeah, that's, I mean, it's just one of those movies. It's always been there.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
So I have an interesting history with this movie where it came on TV when I was like 12 or something, and my dad wanted me to watch it with him because he thought I would think it was really funny. And it scared the shit out of me, actually, because I was a little sensitive around that age. But going back and watching it now, it's, oh my god, Kitty.
Yeah, she has her tongue. She has her tongue
all the way out.
Severe
you
breath.
missed it.
Sorry, that was horrifically distracting. But rewatching it now is just so entirely my shit. It's so gloriously stupid. But
Go ahead.
let the cat in.
Oh, thank you.
This recording's going great.
I feel like all the animals
are fucking rioting.
Well,
They're like, you did
actually,
this yesterday.
I'm keeping him calm. He is, like, going to sleep on my leg, so that's an improvement.
It
Hi,
is.
Keith. Do you have something to add to contribute?
Yeah, Madam Producer. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
We'll take that into consideration.
Notes taken.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my very brief history with this movie.
My history with this film. My discovery of this came around the same time frame as my discovery with Army of Darkness. Crazy Uncle, you know how he is. This is one of his movies, too.
That makes a lot of sense.
I watched this as a wee lad, and I had, like, some of the Alien action figures. I would quote this movie all the time, just because it was stupid. And I loved it. And, like, yeah, okay, it was scary, but, like, it was over the top, kind of stupid, scary, and I'm like, this is funny. So, if you haven't noticed, it's kind of lasted. It's left a lasting aftertaste with me.
It's totally your jam.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, Chicky.
This was my first viewing of this movie, which is a theme this weekend. Apparently, I was missing out on all of these alien movies, apparently. I don't know. But I'm kind of surprised because I love Tim Burton, and I don't know how this escaped me.
Do you also love aliens?
I mean, they're all right. I could get down with some alien content. That sounded weird. That's not what I meant.
Get down with some alien.
I could get down with some aliens.
It's not like Fairy Dick, which is what we were talking about.
And it's not like
earlier.
Ice Planet Barbarian.
No.
Have you read Ice Planet Barbarian?
No, but I just know what it's about, and that's all
You know
needed.
their reputation.
I was going to get so excited if you had read it, because I haven't read it, but I want to talk to somebody who has read that, and just be like, just give me the summary,
Give
the
me the
synopsis.
spark notes
Yeah.
If I ever do, I will make a book report for you.
Please
Jess.
do. Please
Okay.
do.
Less, species and splice, and more general alien mayhem.
Yeah.
1960s to 50s, old school shit blowing up.
Well, we're in a theme here. This is also very ray gun gothic.
Oh yes. Like the big orby ray guns
Yes.
that the aliens have. Yeah.
But it feels like this one's leans much more heavily into the classic ray gun gothic
It's
aesthetic.
definitely an homage, and this is something that Tim Burton likes to play with a lot, is like semi-period pieces a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, Edward Scissorhands had that like candy-colored 50s suburbia thing going on, and countless Victorian-esque things that he's done.
Yeah.
So he likes doing that.
And this feels very much like it is a love letter to all of those alien invasion horror movie spoofs. Specifically, it's like an homage to the parodies
Yeah,
that
honestly.
came out of those movies.
No, it's a bad B movie, and
a
that's...
bad B movie, but done well.
But done with, like, an A-tier cast and, like...
a budget of, like, a Hollywood blockbuster.
Yeah.
And Mitch, didn't you see... This is an award-winning film.
Yes, it is, actually. Let's see here. Some of the awards... loading.
Keep that webpage loading.
Okay, so, some of the awards that it won. It is Best Score Comedy or Musical by Danny Elfman. It is a nominee for Best Sound Design, a nominee of Best Visual Effects. And then, let's see here. Best Science Fiction Film, Best Performance by a Younger Actor, and Best Director of Tim Burton, because of course he is... These are all nominees, though.
Also, I'm so sorry if you, dear listener, can hear heavy breathing in the background. It is our dog Bo. He is laying against my leg and trying to fall asleep. And so he's kind of
And we all have to
snoring.
live with that fact.
Yeah. Also, the cat is trying to sit in my lap at the same time, and it makes him a little bit nervous, and also it makes her grouchy. So she might settle down, but she might also start complaining.
Yeah, no. So, there's a few nods towards awards.
Yeah, there's a lot of awards.
There's 3 awards and there's like 19 nominees.
A lot of nominations,
Yeah.
yeah. But I feel like I interrupted you after you were talking about Ice Planet Barbarians.
Oh yeah, we got sidetracked with Fairy Tale.
I was just gonna say that I don't have any other experience with this movie, and
Yeah.
so
You'll bring a fresh perspective to the table.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Any initial first impressions?
wow.
Yeah.
Succinctly put. Perfect. I feel like that sums it up very well.
Mhm.
Yes, it does.
I mean, whoa was also a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Whoa! There you go, Bo. Can you lay on the pillow instead of my thigh? Because it's
No.
going to sleep.
No.
Okay, well,
Or is it time?
it is time. It's time for the summarizing.
Okay, so we end up with a really dynamic cold open to this film. What?
Hold on, this thing was like hissing. I totally messed it up.
It's just the ray gun.
Sorry. Okay,
The extra noise is in
Summarizing interrupted. It's just like this thing's going back
in reverse. The bullets are going back into the gun. So we end up with a really dynamic cold open to this film, where we're in farmland Kentucky, and a couple of neighbors are talking to each other, and they're like, "Do you smell barbecue?" And a bunch of flaming cows come stampeding down the road, and then a flying saucer lifts up. And so we have our tone setter. These aliens are basically just causing chaos because they think it's fun. And that's the entire rest of the movie. We have some establishing shots with all our various parties, because this is a multi-perspective plot. And the president receives note that, thousands of flying saucers are coming towards the Earth, and they're like, well, let's roll out the welcome mat and see what happens. Bad shit happens. And we get to follow the dregs of humanity trying to make their way through.
Yeah, the various groups who are trying to navigate this comedic disaster.
Well, again, it really is a lot like Independence Day, because you have the trailer park crew, you have the president and his family, you have the wacky scientists, you have the newscasters, like...
Again, like they
had
play with each other so well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And shenanigans ensue.
The only difference, shockingly, is that this movie never goes to Area 51.
Yeah?
Even though it's set in Nevada.
Yeah, part of it is set in Nevada. Like, a big chunk of it is set in Nevada. They never go to Area 51. It's such low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe Independence Day was too busy filming
at Area 50, which they obviously filmed on site.
That's what they want you to think, that it's just movie sets, Jamie.
See,
they want you to think that.
Spiner wasn't playing a role in Independence Day. It's an actual science.
That's a documentary.
Yeah, but they dress it up as a movie to confuse you.
That's why the Naruto runners were trying to go in there in the first place. They wanted to see the props from Independence Day.
I'm really sad I didn't go to that, because that seems like it would be like a great block party.
Yeah.
It seems like
I
it would have been pretty
the guards
fun.
were just like hanging out and being like, hey, how's it going?
Well, my favorite part was that the Air Force had to do an official briefing of their personnel in the lead up to this event, which led to a Department of Defense official sanctioned slideshow explaining what a Naruto run is.
Somebody had to deliver that with a straight fucking face.
I've seen the pictures of him doing it.
Oh my god, I can hear the birds singing outside.
I can too.
Shut up, birds!
Well,
keep it down!
We need more ray guns to annihilate the birds.
Yeah, so another running gag in this film is that the Martians, for some reason, fucking hate birds and kill them at every opportunity.
The birds work for the bourgeoisie, and they know it.
Oh. Birds aren't real, they're government surveillance drones.
They were ahead of their time.
But yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean... it's a wild romp.
Well, there's a lot happening in this movie, and there's tons of gags, but much like with Earth Girls Are Easy, there's not a lot of meat on these bones. It's candy.
Yeah. No, there's nothing.
You guys like so much ham and candy.
Yeah.
It's amazing that your teeth aren't all rotted out.
We like candy.
Dun, 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 dun.
And we don't mean candy from, Earth Girls Are Easy.
No, we like her too.
Okay.
But it's I want candy.
Oh.
Dun, 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 dun. Let's move on to the main course.
I want candy. Dun, 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 dun. I want candy. Dun, 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 dun. After that rousing number.
Can that actually just be the music, please?
We'll see.
Depends on how it picked up, I guess.
We'll see. Anyway, alright, so this is going to be kind of a tough one to actually go blow by blow through, because...
And we probably won't.
Yeah, because you have so many different moving parts.
It rotates through a lot of interlaced plots and characters that overlap with each other. We'll establish the parties, and then we'll just do the highlight reel.
I still think we should try to do a general summation of what happens.
Oh, yeah.
Because we can start, basically, by talking about how some of this movie, in a way, is sort of a tongue-in-cheek critique of, I don't know what you would call it, like the political science philosophy, but maybe it's not neoliberalism,
That's
but
more
basically,
of an economic philosophy, yeah.
basically the assumption that sufficiently enlightened races would not be
violent and irrational.
Yeah, and therefore, even when they are proving otherwise, we must give them
benefit of the doubt.
And
Kitty,
how, like, I don't know. It's also a critique of politicians being more concerned with
optics.
Security theater and optics and public relations than with, like, actual threats.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, it's all very, like, tongue-in-cheek. And then there's the warbirds who are like, no, we have to, like, nuke them now!
Yeah,
and that's still not the answer.
There's only one Warhawk in this movie, and he's, like, super, like, gung-ho, hey, we should kill these people. It's like...
The answer is not...
Well, it turned out, like, his response was correct, but his way of going about
the method was wrong.
Yeah.
As it turns out, what kills aliens is not nuclear bombs, but the power of... Oh, God.
That peak. That almost made my brain explode.
That's the power of music, baby.
Yeah. What was the artist's name?
Oh, it's not important.
Slim something.
Slim something. He's like a 1950s country sort of singer
Yodeling
that goes like,
singer.
yodelay, yodelay, yodelay.
Yeah,
that's like off key. It's not the right key, but
that was from Toy Story 2. That was the Jessie.
It doesn't matter. It's close enough.
So anyway, there's actually like there's sort of like light critiques, political critique, yeah, but mostly it's just like a lot of fun.
Yes.
So
should we do the character rundown?
Yes. So you've got notes for this, so maybe you should lead.
Okay, so you have the standard suburban family, who consists of the mom who drives a bus. You have Byron, who's currently divorced from her, living
and he was
like an ex-prize fighter, and now he's like a mascot in Vegas, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And their kids...
Cedric and
Neville. And they're constantly being truant, and they're spotted by their mom at an arcade shooting aliens.
Well, on a video game, on an arcade game. It might also be important to note that this is sort of supposed to be like Washington, D.C., inner city, black kids, black family. And their mom is Pam Grier.
Did they ever say her name? Like the mom's name?
I'm not sure.
I think they might have, but...
I think Byron might have, but it's not that important because it frankly doesn't come up that much.
Yeah.
In fact, nobody's name is terribly important in this movie because they're all archetypes.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, let's see here. You have the news crew people, which consists of... I want to lump the professor in here because he's seen more with the news folks.
Well, yeah, you have your Pierce Brosnan, and you have your Michael J. Fox as the GNN reporter.
Mm-hmm. There's also Martin Short, which is...
He's the press secretary for the White House, and
President
also a pervert.
President Jack Nicholson's sort of PR representative. And
serial pervert.
And serial pervert who's constantly like, picking up girls and apparently taking them into the White House to have sex with them.
In the Kennedy room.
Because he's being a creep.
There's the Warhawk, and then there's also the friendly advisor general guy.
Yeah.
You have the president's family, starring Glenn Close as the wife.
Baby Natalie Portman as the president's daughter, who is just so over it for the entire movie.
Then you also have the billionaire tycoon and his hippie starseed wife.
Mm-hmm.
She's really into
the new age
stuff, and initially believes that the aliens are here to
usher in a new age of enlightenment.
Yeah, she's also like a raging alcoholic.
Yeah.
You also have the trailer family, consisting of Jack Black, who's kind of like standardized military, like
G.I. Joe.
Yeah, he's the older brother who is just very gun-happy, pro-military.
Man.
Yeah.
To give you an idea, it opens with them in the trailer, and Jack Black is blindfolded, putting a gun together.
And trying to timing him.
And it's a family event.
And like his whole family... So there's the mother, the father, and then his younger brother, Richie, who is probably the
soft-hearted one.
Yeah, the core of the family as far as the movie is concerned. And also their grandmother, who is she has dementia, but she's hilarious. Mm-hmm. But anyway, the brother who Jack Black plays, I can't remember his name, but it's like two names sort of thing. Bobby Glenn or something.
Yes, Billy Glenn.
Billy Glenn, he's like the apple of his parents' eyes, because
he could do no wrong, and he's such a
and they're constantly being
manly
like,
man.
why can't you be like your brother, Richie? I guess we couldn't get lucky twice.
And they're shitty.
So it's fun because Richie reminds me of an archetype from Steven Universe. If you haven't seen it, there's a kid named Lars who also runs like a donut shop, and it kind of fits very thematically, like very similar character tropes.
Yeah.
Some sad boy.
Richie's day job is working at this donut shop, and he really loves his grandmother, and he's the one that's taking care of her. His parents clearly are just kind of have like written her off. You know, they're like, she has dementia. She's already like in outer space anyway. We don't care about her. But Richie is like, dude,
that's grandma.
She's still our, it's grandma. And then who else? Like, oh, well, we have the casino team.
Yeah, you have the casino team.
Yeah, like Byron's in the casino team. Starseed drops in and out of that
Barbara.
team.
That's her name.
Barbara.
Then we have Danny DeVito and Cleopatra Waitress.
Yeah, we have like one of the showgirls. I think her name is, he says her name,
Cindy.
It's Cindy?
Yeah, but she only has like 2 lines.
She only has like 2 or 3 lines, but
she
for some
survives
reason
the whole film.
She survives the whole film, which I was so glad about. And also, for some reason, in my mind, she like took up way more space in my memories as a child, and I think it's because
she's pretty.
She's super pretty, and I love her outfit.
Also,
I was like, I want to dress like that, and I still want to dress like that.
Also, like, I want to say that Casino Team reminds me heavily of Back for Blood or like
Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead group. Like, it's just like
the motley crew of survivors.
Motley crew of like 4 or 5 survivors, and it consists of ex-boxing dude, a showgirl, a drunkard lawyer, and like
yeah, it's a hot mess, but it's wonderful.
It's great.
Yeah.
So, kind of the establishing plot here is that President Jack Nicholson is receiving images from the Hubble telescope, and he's not worried about the aliens approaching. He's like, this is a great PR opportunity. I'm president when we make first contact. And so he and all of his sycophants are like, oh yeah, let's, roll out the red carpet. We'll set up a whole event out in Nevada. No, we won't bring the army. That's stupid. Or just bring the press.
Warhawk's like, we need to have somebody there.
Nuke 'em all, nuke 'em all, nuke 'em all. Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, Warhawk wears sunglasses the entire movie.
Yep.
Indoors, at night, all the time. It's a vibe.
Well, basically because every character in this movie is defined by a trait, and his trait is angry with sunglasses.
I want that to be my trait.
I mean, get some sunglasses. And So, to put it briefly, also, talk show hostess is talking to scientist man who is advising the president, and Pierce Brosnan is every, 1950s exposition guy.
Yeah.
Down to, he looks like Professor Utonium from Powerpuff Girls, because he has, he has the slicked back hair, the very crisp black and white suit,
his
tie, the pipe that he smokes. He is every exposition guy in a 50s or 60s sci-fi movie.
I was going to say, how dare we forget, in our lineup of the cast, particularly the casino gang, Tom Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Tom, he comes in very late.
He comes in very late, but he is
does
part of the
join-
casino crowd.
Yeah.
He joins the casino crowd, Tom Jones, not playing a character. It's Tom Jones as Tom Jones.
It's like, surprise, motherfucking Tom Jones.
Yeah, and it's honestly great. I bet it's 50% of the reason it got nominated for Best Soundtrack.
Probably.
It's not unusual
to have fun with anyone.
Anyway, so preparations are being made to receive the aliens. The newscasters and the scientists are, doing their talking head thing.
There's weird mad scientist in the background who's trying to put a translator
machine
because
together.
if you don't know about these Martians, whenever they talk and communicate, they go
and a brief note of the design of these Martians. They're incredible. They are approximately 4 feet tall, and their body plan is basically, your standard gray aliens. except they have beach ball-sized brains protruding out of their heads and big bloodshot eyes.
They also wear spacesuits because they breathe nitrogen.
Well, they wear, like, fun green spacesuits with big glass domes on their heads when they're Earthside. But when they're on the ship, they're wearing glittery red Speedos.
Yeah, they really like sequiny stuff.
Yeah.
But very, very ray gun gothic.
I feel like Megamind is loosely based on the design of these Martians.
Oh, absolutely. Particularly, the leader Martians have these, like, high-collared dramatic capes that they wear. And, Megamind. It's there.
Yeah, if you need to kind of have a quick reference to what they look like, imagine Megamind, but if he wasn't just blue, basically his whole cranium is a big brain.
It's like, this is your brain on meth, Megamind.
Mm-hmm.
Like the after pictures in the addiction commercials.
Mix, like, Mojo Jojo's actual green brain with Megamind.
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
Yeah. Our second Powerpuff Girls reference in this episode already. So we get to the desert, we have the aliens are descending in their standard issue silver flying saucer, like flying hubcaps, which Starseed, camped up on the cliffside with her crystals and herbs, makes note of.
Yeah, the landing gear reminds me a lot of the Wild Wild West.
With
like
their
leggies.
The giant robot spider at the end.
If you've ever seen the Wild Wild West with Will Smith in it, which, from which comes his great song. We're going to the Wild Wild West.
So apparently I wasn't missing out on all the Alien movies. They just had to have Will Smith in them.
That's true. Independence Day.
I haven't seen Independence Day, but I have seen Men in Black.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, in the Wild Wild West, there's that one has no aliens. It's just steampunk, and there's a lot of
spider leggies
weird,
involved.
Mechanical spider leggies. Anyway, that's what the landing gear for the
kind of looks like.
Yeah, UFOs looks like.
So the peaceful general, like the PR general, goes out to meet the alien ambassador, and the ambassador descends, and up until now we don't know how short they are, but they're about 4 feet tall. And the translator machine hiccups a little bit, but then starts going, and the aliens are like, oh, we come in peace. And they're like, oh, great, they come in peace!
A guy...
Release the doves! And...
it's a very beautiful shot. This
very bad CGI dove.
Just flying in the sky. The alien just looks at it with, this reflection.
And a gentle gasp of wonder. And then pulls out a ray gun and just shoots
the fucker.
And then, apparently, the rest of the aliens take that as a signal to take out the rest of the human crowd with these crazy ray guns that, set people on fire, but also leave, color-coded skeletons behind that match the color of the ray that hit them.
It their guns themselves remind me of...
Super Soakers?
Old-timey Super Soakers. Yeah.
The big bulby ones?
Yeah.
So, in the midst of the chaos... Bimbo newscaster, played by Sarah Jessica Parker, different three named Jessica, or different three named Sarah. I was looking at you while I said that.
Yeah.
Gets kidnapped by aliens, because she, gets knocked off the top of her news van, and we lose both Michael J. Fox and Jack Black in the chaos and the lasers.
Also the friendly general.
General gets nuked first, which
unfortunate.
Yeah, it falls into the black guy dies first trope pretty hard, unfortunately. And then we cut to the president being like, oh shit, this is a disaster, what do we do?
Also, Glenn Close being so fucking shady, because she's like, ew, what is that? When she sees the Martians, and she's like, that thing is not dining off the fine china.
Off of the Van Buren china.
Yeah. She's just and again, it's the president and his wife are so shallow.
And so focused on appearances.
Yeah. And within the White House...
most of the advisors are also fixated on appearances. They're also fixated
on appearances, and if there's ever a tour in the White House, it can never be interrupted, even when there's, an emergency. Mm-hmm. They're like, no, a tour's going that way. We can't go that way.
We can't go that way. A tour's there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Even though it's the safest evacuation route. So the president's advisors are trying to figure out what happened, and maybe they're like, well, perhaps it was a misunderstanding. Maybe they didn't mean to kill a couple hundred people. maybe we should, give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe doves mean violence. Doves mean war in their society. Let's try again. And they send a message to the alien ambassador by the Ack machine. And and the aliens come back with, oh, well, we're so sorry about this misunderstanding. We're terribly embarrassed about it all. We'd really love to address your Congress.
And they're like, oh, we can set this up pretty well. We can just have both chambers in the same session,
Yeah, we'll have
all
a joint,
together all at once.
We'll have a joint session of Congress, and President Jack Nicholson is like, well, could I be there too? And
It's a great
it's
photo
a great
opportunity.
photo opportunity. And
Martin Short is just like, well, but the Secret Service is just like a little bit nervous for some reason about
having multiple branches of government in the same building?
Yeah.
With murderous aliens that have already killed people?
Mm-hmm.
It's just
What?
Weird.
It's just a government misunderstanding. It's fine.
Red tape.
But yeah, so they bring both houses of Congress together into this small little courtroom because, you can fit 600 some odd people in like a 30 chamber courtroom.
In a room, the room is simply not big enough to accommodate this movie.
Predictably, this goes very, very badly.
And we cut to Grandma in the nursing home being like, they burned Congress!
Yeah.
They blew up.
They blew up Congress, yeah.
Yeah, this is all being televised, so everybody gets to see them completely wipe out America's legislative branch in like one fell swoop. And Jack Nicholson and his family are being evacuated into, I guess, like the war room or something, but they get separated from their daughter, Natalie Portman, who is playing Taffy. And Glenn Close has, like, the Nancy Reagan chandelier, like, fall on her and crush her. And also in all this chaos, the tour that happened to be going through the White House at this time has
Byron's kids.
Yeah, has Byron's kids in it. And since they play those alien killing games, like, one of the Secret Servicemen does manage to kill one of the aliens, and they grab the aliens' ray guns, and they start instantly, like...
They take charge of the situation.
Yeah.
So first of all, they're crack fucking shots.
Yeah.
And second of all, they're reacting better under pressure than the entire Secret Service and help successfully evacuate the president to the war room.
So like, stop gawking! Get that president out of here!
And basically in the very next scene you see them, they're safely back at home with their mom. Like,
yeah, defending their home from aliens.
It was effortless for them.
Cedric and Neville, like, they actually
carry.
pull through.
Yeah,
and they carry.
Put those kids in charge. In fact, put all the children in charge, because it's really only the children.
The young people are the most competent in the entire movie.
Yeah.
They're genre savvy.
Yeah.
And it shows. It's fun.
Yeah,
Them and Byron.
Yeah.
And Byron.
President Byron!
President
Byron!
I would vote for that man in a heartbeat.
Yeah. So things are going poorly, but, like, everybody's still pretending like it's okay, which doesn't that sound familiar?
There's this really funny, and cringy scene with President Jack Nicholson in the war room after being like, okay, we'll have to address the American people, and we'll have to tell them, we still have 2 out of 3 branches of government. That ain't bad.
Yeah.
And, we'll still keep the buses running, we'll keep the schools open, everything can stay normal. And what does that sound like?
Yeah. That was too real.
Yeah, that's the moment the movie got a little too real.
The wheels of capitalism cannot be stopped just because of a little inconvenient global crisis, so everybody do your stuff normally.
Okay, so while all of this is taking place, it kind of cuts to Art. So Art Land is the billionaire, like, hotel owner guy, right?
Also played by Jack Nicholson.
So what's fun is you have, like, this weird duality of hammy versions of Jack Nicholson. You have the more somber guy from A Few Good Men who's just, like, very serious and blah, blah, blah. I am the president, and why are we doing this? And that sort of stuff. And then you have the exceptionally camp version, who's the
not quite Joker camp,
not
close.
Not quite Joker camp, but very close. Of just I need to put every Martian in a hotel.
I feel like there's a Jack Nicholson scale all by itself.
Oh.
We don't need to deploy another.
We don't
scale.
need to make another meter or another scale, but Jack Nicholson has, like, he has the range, and,
But think of the data.
No.
Data pressure.
You don't even like math.
He's like,
I like charts. I like graphs.
Please,
Graphs and math.
and you can bet every one of those aliens will need a place to stay.
Yeah, like his real estate developer schmooze with his weirdly colored shades and rhinestone cowboy hat. And I'm pretty sure
honestly,
he's wearing
I
a
kind
nose
of
prosthetic too to make his face a little bit different. And
I honestly kind of love every one of his outfits. They're so, like, tacky. They're so tacky, but I'm like, also, they're so gentle.
His last one's pretty good because it's like Martian themes, rhinestones, and it has like a sombrero with like UFOs attached to the brim and crap, and it's so good.
It's rhinestone cowboy is what it is.
Yeah.
We in this family like rhinestone cowboys.
We do.
But I want to say it's around this time that the Martin Short scene happens.
Yes.
Yeah.
So things have temporarily cooled off somehow with the alien invasion. And
There's a lull.
There's a lull in the invasion. And Press Secretary Martin Short, who has already been picking up hookers periodically throughout the film, spies a lady with a very distinctive large beehive hairdo that definitely isn't concealing anything.
She's sus.
Walking outside of the White House.
Okay, after a brief break, we got the dog to stop heavy breathing in the microphone.
Yeah, no more dog mouth breathing, some spilled beer, you know.
Slight party foul.
Normal things.
Party flail.
Party flail. Speaking of party flails, so Martin Short takes this totally not suspicious woman with the enormous head past all the security in the White House into a secret room in the White House and is like, hey, check out all this stuff I have access to. You want a bone?
And she literally says nothing during this entire exchange. Like, Martin Short really just doesn't care.
Well, she kind of like maybe makes eyes at him a little bit to play along. But mostly it's just weird sustained eye contact and wearing a skin-tight dress. That's enough for him.
Yeah.
Super sus.
That's how it's done.
Oh, absolutely. This is called The Game, if you haven't heard of it. But no, I feel like this alien lady is the most Burton-esque character in this whole film.
Yeah.
Because she's like the pale, spooky lady who kind of floats from place to place instead of walking.
And kind of creepily a little bit.
And also, like, the weird spirally patterns on her dress, Burton in spirals, like, and the way that she's lit, she's kind of, like, underlit for a lot of the scenes to make her cheesy movie spooky, like, holding the flashlight under your face kind of thing. And Martin Short goes into put a finger in her mouth.
Well, yeah, he's like, okay, let's get to like the kissing and making out and other things. And he launches himself at her just like grossly, but she's like not responding at all. And he's like, wow, you're such a lady. And he's like, but can we do something about this, like, chewing gum? And
she's been, like, chewing the entire time.
Yeah, she's been chewing gum the entire time, so he tries to, like, stick his finger in her fucking mouth to get the gum out, and she just bites his finger off.
And spits it into the aquarium.
Yeah, the fish aquarium that's nearby, which I feel like this part was the part that, like, freaked me out the most as a kid, and I was like, wah.
Well, and so simultaneously with her biting his finger off, the mask she's wearing rips, revealing alien, weird, bony mouth underneath. So she pulls.
Like, this prosthetic is actually really, really cool.
Well, I think it's digitally augmented as it's stretching over the dome.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, like, her mouth, the mouth reveal is actually really cool.
It is. And so she pulls off the latex mask over, oh no, alien head in a glass helmet under the beehive hairdo. Who could have suspected
Actually, there is no glass helmet.
Oh, right. It's just over the alien brain because the chewing gum...
They explain that the chewing gum...
Like a gas supplement.
Yeah, is like NO2, which is what they breathe, and that's how it was able to not have a helmet on. Which I thought actually was a super clever way.
Yeah, there's actually some like kind of fun sci-fi workarounds
explaining that.
But she brains him and then infiltrates the rest of the White House and finds the president and first lady in bed. This actually happens before the tour then, because Glenn Close is still alive.
Yeah. It's just...
a lot happens in this movie.
The
and it's all
timeline is hard.
And it barely makes sense.
And we strongly recommend for
watching
you to
it
watch
yourself.
it yourself, because this is crazy.
But it lasers the dog, because the dog wakes them up.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. to a very good Labrador dog. And then the Secret Service shows up, and they evacuate the president and the first lady, etc., etc.
Also, somewhere in all of this, they've started doing, like, weird body horror experiments on Pierce Brosnan's doctor character, a professor character, and Sarah Jessica Parker's journalist, which apparently there's like this sort of mini love arc for them where I guess the professor has admired Sarah Jessica Parker. I think her name's Natalie.
Mm-hmm.
He's admired...
But it's spelled Nathalie?
Yeah.
Nathalie?
He's like, Natalie, I've admired you for many years. And so he, they hit it off instantly. Unfortunately, they hit it off at exactly the time when these aliens are invading, and they both get abducted, and Natalie's head gets, like, spliced off her body and put onto her chihuahua's body, and her chihuahua's head is put on her body. And Pierce Brosnan is simply, like, his whole body is sort of taken apart and linked together by tubes, and his head is just sort of floating... sustained between these two, like, weird pincer thingies.
This is actually the part of the movie that freaked 12-year-old Jamie out. I couldn't handle it.
I just wanted to say, like, all this romantic reveals is completely deflated by the fact that they're both floating heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's weird because they're, like, this crazy shit is happening to them, but they're, like, confessing their feelings. But I suppose, on the other hand, you could argue, okay, yes, duh, there's some alien horror, body horror going on, so why not? Mm-hmm. Dissociate and ignore all that and confess your feelings for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
However you can survive, I suppose.
And I guess at that point, they kind of knew they weren't going to make it. They're like, might as well just, like...
commit to this.
Yeah, might as well share our feelings and try to derive what joy we can out of our lives, because you're a floating head and I'm sewn to a chihuahua's body.
I feel like that's the message I'm going to take away from this movie. Spoiler alert for later.
The power of true love.
Embrace the moment. No matter how bad it is, no matter how crazy the situation, if you've got to tell someone that you love them, you tell it to them right then.
Even if you're attached to a chihuahua by weird alien surgery.
Yeah.
The invasion is escalating at this point, and we get to really get a full view of how petty the aliens are, because there's some Boy Scouts touring the Washington Mall, and a flying saucer begins to knock over the Washington Monument, and the Boy Scouts successfully run out of the path of where it's going to fall, so the saucer moves to the other side and nudges it so it will fall on them.
Basically, there's this long montage of them just being petty little shits and, like, laughing about it. And, like, you can tell this is just, they just love mayhem. Like, that's this whole, like, alien race's deal is they're in it
for the shits and giggles.
Yeah, for the love of carnage and no other reason.
Like, I'd also like to kind of say that there's an interesting juxtaposition between Independence Day and Mars Attacks when it comes to, like, the lethality of aliens. So you have, on one part, Independence Day, where it's just, like, blowing up these massive landmarks, and, like, there's something very personal with Mars Attacks' means of killing people.
Well, yeah, like, I think I see where you're going with this. So, like, the Roland Emmerich-y, like, disasters of Independence Day, there's not a lot of faces attached to it. It's just buildings blowing up.
Yes.
Whereas here, the aliens are very personally after the humans.
Personally petty little shits.
Yes.
As demonstrated when they start shooting people in the nursing home where Richie's grandmother is. And they like, she's in her room just sitting there listening to her records with headphones on. So she's not even aware that, like, literally everybody is, like, dying in her nursing home. And they have this huge beam.
Yeah, they wheel in this gigantic Marvin the Martian-ass death ray.
And they, like, position it right behind her head.
It's the size of a Zamboni, and they put it right behind her.
And they're like rubbing their hands together and being like,
writhing their clutches.
And just at that moment, Richie, who has just spent the last however many minutes being chased by a giant ray gun gothic mech robot alien thing.
Allow me, listeners, to describe this amazing mech. Okay, he's already been referenced once before. I will do it again. Mojo Jojo. He would have built this mech. Because it's old style, kind of weird, giant suction cuppy feet. It has massive claws.
Like lobster pincers.
Lobster pincers. It has the weird tube arm looking things that look like they're attached to your dryer.
Yeah, the dryer vent arms.
And then the head thing is just one of their big, like,
Domes.
glass domes. And you have, like, a little tiny Martian on the inside.
Well, and it's very classic 1950s, 1960s alien robot toy, sort
Yeah.
of.
And it's just like...
Yeah. He has just escaped his trailer park. He left his parents there because they were like, you are going to defend this trailer. And he's like, no, I'm going to go get grandma. And just in the nick of time, because then this alien robot mech comes into, like, specifically for no reason at all, their trailer park to just smash the trailers together and have fun doing that. But it sees him driving off. So it starts chasing him. And then it gets caught in, like, a bunch of power lines.
It gets clotheslined and dies.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but he races over to the nursing home, and he presumably runs through all these other aliens to get to his grandma, because he loves her.
There's also another running gag of, like, flaming skeletons riding vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
You have some in wheelchairs, you have some in jeeps, you have some in vans. Like, it's a thing, and it's so good.
Yeah, try to spot the flaming skeletons when you watch
It's
this.
a drinking game.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, at the beginning, when, like, the military gets lasered in the Nevada desert, there's a skeleton in a Jeep, and then in here you have skeleton in a wheelchair, and later on, I'm pretty sure there's, like, skeleton in a forklift or something.
Yeah, it is something like that.
Yeah, and so he comes in just in time to yell, like, Grandma! So she turns to look at him and pulls out the aux cable of her headphones, and this music just starts blaring out. Yes. And all the aliens instantly start grabbing their, like, helmets, and their heads inside their helmets are, like, bubbling, and then their brains burst, and...
Think like bugs splatting against your windshield.
Yeah, very much.
That effect.
Yeah.
Splat.
And she's like, I think those young men are very sick, or something like that. And he's like, what's doing that to them? And she says, I think it's my music. And so they rig up this, I guess, like this megaphone to her music and start broadcasting it as they're driving around. And lo and behold, it's like killing them all. Meanwhile, back in Vegas,
Yes, this is where the Vegas team comes in.
Byron is trying to get back with his wife because they're divorced, but, you know, they still love each other. But I guess he had done some things in his past that she didn't approve of.
Mysterious past.
Probably, it's implied that he, like, beat people up for money.
Killed that.
Well, yeah, washed up prize fighter who's now, like,
Hired assassin.
hired muscle for
Yeah.
questionable people.
But he wants to get back to Washington, D.C. to see his kids. That was, like, the plan before the Martian invasion, and that hasn't changed. He's like, I have to get back to my family. So he and Barbara, the, like, you know, crystal alien gal...
Starseed comes to him and she's like, hey, I've got this plane packed up with a bunch of survival supplies and I want to go hole up in
Tahoe.
a cave in Tahoe. And she's like, do you know anybody who can fly? And he's like, Art can fly. And she's like, Art's dead.
Yeah, Art was, like, giving his whole pitch to a whole bunch of
Foreign investors
when the UFOs came through Las Vegas, and then they
shot the skyscraper thing that
he was in.
That looks like a UFO itself.
kind of like the Space Needle or whatever.
Yeah.
He knocks
And
it over and a giant model of the globe rolls over him.
yeah, he gets, like, crushed by the Earth.
It's a lot
Which
of
is-
Looney Tunes violence.
Which is funny
It's so
because,
good.
like, earlier in the movie, Barbara was like, you're so shameless, you're killing the Earth! And then the Earth killed him. But, yeah, so she's like, do you know anybody else who can fly? And he's like, yeah, Tom Jones. So they're, like, going through trying to find Tom Jones, and they pick up
Danny DeVito and
Yeah.
Cleopatra Showgirl on the way.
Yeah, and they manage to get to the hangar, because I guess they have, like, a personal
so
jet.
You're skipping over a very important scene. They get to Tom Jones, and Tom Jones is in the middle of his big musical number on the Vegas Strip. It's not unusual.
The lights go out over the showgirls.
Yeah, the lights flicker briefly, and the showgirls dancing behind him are replaced by aliens also dancing. And
They're
just
having a
vibing and
great
having a
time.
Yeah.
Living, thriving, moisturizing, killing people. It's just this is a great weekend for them.
Good, harmless fun.
Great Vegas weekend for them.
Yeah.
It turns out Tom Jones does not make their heads explode.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been funny if he did, though.
Yes. But he sees them, freaks out, and then gets evacuated with the rest of the Vegas crew here.
Yeah, and they're running to this private jet that's in a personal airfield, and along the way they lose Danny DeVito because he's trying to be like a slimy lawyer guy, and...
Oh yeah, he's trying to be like lawyer to the aliens. Hey, if you want to dominate the world, you need a lawyer, right?
There's also some fun...
You need a lawyer, right?
There's also some fun camera framing in the scene because, like, he's walking in front of a demolished sign, but the sign, like, has icon
like
of an explosion, and it's, like, he's right in front of it, and he's trying to convince this alien, it's like, hey, I can be a lawyer here. And, like, the alien just shoots him because, of course, and then he explodes in, like, this small, like, mushroom cloud.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, like, the other ray guns, they, like, light people on fire and leave Technicolor skeletons behind, but for some reason this one, he just poofs into a miniature green mushroom cloud?
It's also, like, well, and they have very many ways of killing people, because earlier, the president and the Warhawk are finally killed. With the Warhawk, they, like, shrink him down and with a shrink ray, and then step on him.
Yeah, they make him in the size of a tiny G.I. Joe.
And then step on him.
And the president has this whole speech that he gives about, like why can't we be friends, essentially? And
it's actually a really good speech,
well,
too.
The stirring music kicks up, and he reaches his hand out to the alien leader.
And I wouldn't say it's like a good speech. I think the stirring music kind of makes you...
It sells it.
Yeah, but it's not actually a particularly great speech.
It brings a tear to the Martian leader's eye, and
then he extends a hand. Jack Nicholson's president takes it and starts shaking it, but then the hand detaches and crawls like around him and, like, stabs him through the chest, and then it
telescopes out and deploys the Martian flag out of his chest.
Yeah. It's very weird. Like, the kills in this movie.
It's very Looney Tunes, and the thing that kills the president is a handshake.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, yes. Well, and he also steps over the body. Like, everybody's panicking. The Martians are killing everyone. He's trying to, like, get away. He's literally hiding behind his chair. And one of his Secret Service men, like, steps in front of him when he's about to get blasted.
Get down, Mr. President.
Yeah, and dies. And the president, like, not 30 seconds later, steps over his still smoldering body and tries to give this whole "why can't we be friends" speech. So, I don't know, there's a metaphor there. There is a metaphor there.
R.I.P. Secret Service Mitch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think his name was Mitch.
He's a good film Mitch, as opposed to the bad film Mitch we encountered.
Yeah. But then the Vegas team get to the airport. They are starting up the airplane, but there's a whole squadron of Martians outside, and Byron is like, you know what? Like, I'll distract them. You guys go on ahead. And he basically challenges the leader alien to a fucking fist fight.
No, he just walks out casually. He's like, no weapons! Drops his weapons down. No costume! Rips off parts of his costume to reveal this muscled up
Cuirass
shirt thing. And he's like, Byron Williams, champion of the world, and, like, puts up his dukes.
Yeah.
And the alien leader's like, yeah, alright, and shucks his cape and is like, let's box.
And again, I just feel like the Martians are here for love of violence. They're like,
for a
hell
good
yeah.
time, not for a long time.
Yeah, let's brawl. I'll do that. So he starts brawling with them, but eventually, like, there are too many, so they, like, kind of overwhelm him, even after he has killed the one that he...
He kills the leader
by breaking their helmets.
Yeah, he kills the leader. He kills at least 5 or 6 of them before going down.
But the plane takes off, and the showgirl, Barbara, and Tom Jones, they escape to Tahoe. Meanwhile, people are starting to pick up on that this music is killing.
Richie and his grandma, I think, get to, like, a local radio station and, like, hijack it and start playing the music.
There is a really great scene in where the Vegas people, they were all trying to get the plane to work. They turn on the radio, and it's the yodeling. And Tom
Jones is like, who put this on?
And turns it off.
Yeah. But everybody else is figuring it out. So all over the world, they're picking up this station, they're broadcasting it, and it's bursting all the aliens' heads. And there's all these, like, UFOs going down, including the UFO with Pierce Brosnan's professor and Natalie, Sarah Jessica Parker's character. And his head goes flying off from between the pinchers, and her head rips off the Chihuahua body, and they're like rolling around on the UFO floor together, confessing their love. Mm-hmm. And finally, just as it slams into the ocean, they're rocking and rolling, eventually brings them together, and they kiss. This is like, honestly, that's one of the scenes that like stuck with me because it was so ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And you know, it was like romantic, but it was like really ridiculous and stupid. Like, might be one of the dark, funnier moments.
And the music is continuing to go on. You get a cut to DC with Cedric and Neville, and they have like a shopping cart full of boom boxes and shit playing.
Yeah. Honestly, these kids carry the entire.
Put them in charge.
Yep.
Put them in charge.
They're just clearing out the streets. Mm-hmm. The aliens are exploding in their wake.
And the next day,
when the aliens are defeated.
Yeah, when the aliens are defeated, or maybe it's a few days later, Natalie Portman, her character Taffy, is I guess kind of weirdly for some reason is kind of the de facto president now.
The rest of the chain of command has been like lasered by this point. Yeah. So maybe at some point the president's daughter is in that.
Yeah, and so she's giving congressional.
I need to briefly interrupt because the scene opens with. If you're not paying attention, you'll miss the gag, but the national anthem is being played by a mariachi band because that's literally the only band they could find that was still fully intact.
But she's presenting Richie and his grandmother with the Medal of Honor in the ruins of the White House or something. And it's very cute because Richie and her clearly kind of have a cute little thing. And Richie gives this speech, which is just
very heartfelt but very awkward teen.
Yeah, it's precious though. And yeah, in the end, their whole storyline is wrapped up where they're like national heroes. Tom Jones, Barbara, and Cindy, the showgirl, they are all at these caves in Tahoe, and they're walking out into the sunlight, and there's all these animals coming up to them like they're Disney princesses.
Tom Jones is going full Disney princess, because he's feeding baby deer out of his hands.
And a hawk comes to land on his arm.
It's weird full return of spring bullshit.
It feels like an Old Spice commercial with how over the top it
either
is.
Old Spice or Bambi. Whenever the spring comes, drop a little drip, little aim, little showers.
I was gonna say, it really feels like it was a requirement for Tom Jones to be in this movie, for him to be like, okay, I'll be in it, but I want these specific things to happen. I want to make it to the end. I want a hawk to land on my arm. I want my music featured.
Yeah. I want to pet a deer while we're here. Can you fit that in?
And they just managed to muscle it in.
Yep.
And my favorite part is we go to Pam Grier and the two children who helped save the entire world.
In D.C. Mm-hmm.
And we have the triumphal return of Byron, who did not in fact die on the pile of Martians.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if he survived to the end, and I was like, I'm gonna be so mad if he died! But he didn't die. He somehow,
their family gets a happily ever after.
Yeah, in the ensuing days, he finds his way back to DC, and he gets to reunite with his whole family, and they get to rebuild and live happily ever after, also as, heroes. Perhaps unsung, but heroes.
Yeah, I don't know, those children were witnessed saving the president's life.
Yeah,
so
but most of the people who witness are dead. Yeah.
So,
But anyway, so that's
Mars Attacks. Mars or less.
Again, you have to watch it yourself because there's so much that's going on in this movie, and there's a bunch of different moving parts, and there's a bunch of bits. It's kind of like Down with Love, where you can say what happened, but it has nothing on the experience itself.
Density of the gag.
Yeah.
You won't be able to absorb any of it from this podcast alone. You'll definitely need to check it out.
It's an hour 40 of condensed chaos.
And it's amazing.
It's not even an hour 40. It's like 106 minutes.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dave, that's an hour 40.
Oh.
Anyway.
It's a little bit over a tight 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At 106 minutes. So it's not a huge investment of time. And it's just sort of like, it's good popcorn movie stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There is one gag at the press circuit at the beginning that might be interpreted as transphobic, depending on how you read it.
Be careful.
We came away with
one.
different reads on that.
I mean, it went like straight over my head as a kid and continues to go straight over my head because I was like, I don't understand.
Again, it's a your mileage may vary situation, but I think it's worth saying.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's and of course, like the first person who dies is a black man,
Yeah,
which is cringe. But then you also have like the
Black
black
survivor
family.
Yeah.
That is reunited at the end, and they've pretty much all done pretty heroic
Yeah,
things.
they're all people of consequence in the plot.
Yes. So
Kind of like Independence Day.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm pretty
Holy shit.
I really want to watch
That needs to
Independence Day now. I'm like,
Yeah, we should.
But yeah, so I think that brings us to the end of the movie. So do you guys, before we go into the dessert round and talk about creative influence, is there anything you want to talk about that's like a technical detail or...
Well, I feel like for Mitch, the technical details are the creative influence.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, again, most of the characters, they're not particularly complex.
They're all very broadly written,
Yeah.
but intentionally so.
Yeah, they're like tropes played straight or archetypes played straight and very like consciously manipulated, which is they don't feel like
They don't feel flat.
flat or boring. They're
Yeah,
just
it's all very intentional.
yeah, it's all very intentional and very fun. And my favorite character is Byron
Yes.
and Richie's grandma.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I also like Jack Black briefly while he was there, but just because it's Jack Black.
Yeah.
Like, I was like,
Baby
I
Jack
just
Black.
like baby Jack Black.
Baby Jack Black with his butt crack.
Yeah, his butt crack's definitely out during
yeah.
significant portions. So yeah, I think we could just head straight into dessert, because there's not a lot of meat on these bones.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's basically cotton candy.
Yeah.
We were eating Gushers while we were
Yeah.
watching
Actually, hand me a
this.
pack of those.
That sounds great.
You know,
Now that it's
like
dessert.
they're bursting alien brains.
Yeah, thematic.
Oh, that is
That
coming
is
out.
so crunchy.
I'll pour them into
Yeah,
my
pour
hand.
them into your hand and don't chew too loud.
Okay.
All right, so with that, let's get our Gushers and head over into the dessert round. It's not unusual to have fun with anyone, but when I see you hang around with anyone, it's not unusual to see me cry. I wanna die. All right. Okay, so for me, like I said in Earth Girls Are Easy, I do think that everything that you consume, all the media you consume does in some way, it all goes back into the stock pot, you know, and simmers down. But not everything has like an equal impact. I think this is one of those movies that, for me, it was kind of fun. And visually, it was very appealing, but I don't think it actually had nearly as much like visual and aesthetic impact on me as Earth Girls Are Easy. This is one of those things where it's almost, it wasn't the best thing, it wasn't the worst thing I've seen. It's just sort of like, yep, I enjoyed that, and sort of like a net neutral for me. It was just, yep, like that was an experience, and I enjoy watching it. Mostly for the aesthetics, the cinematography. I admire how they put together all the different elements, the lighting and the colors and the coherent sort of design strategy. And I like that I can identify, definitely now as an adult, I can identify that it is a parody or a love letter to parodies from mid-century horror movies. And I was like, damn, I love that. I love that from them. I love that they actually have liberal use of theremins.
Mm-hmm.
I like the translation machine and all its little like blippies and like
Gurgling, as it was described as gurgling.
Very Star Trek the original series, which I has my undying love. So, but all those separate things, I've gotten more inspiration from other sources than from this specific one. So I don't actually have a great creative takeaway. Even now, I'm just like, yep, that was fun. I do think that whenever I think about one of your projects that you want to do in the future, that's not Route 6.6, it's another one that you've been thinking about for a really, really long time.
Yes.
This is what I think about.
Yes, that's correct.
That, like, I definitely am like, okay, like, I see where you're coming from, and if we were to make that as a podcast sometime in the future, I would definitely be like drawing.
Use this as a point of reference.
Yes, as we designed it together.
Which maybe that's something we can do next year.
Yeah, I would like to.
This year's a little full.
Yeah, we can't do it this year.
However, but yeah, I guess that segues pretty handily into my dessert round. So, and I was trying to like put a finger on this during our Earth Girls Are Easy episode, and this is fitting after sort of like the old Hollywood humor of I'm so clever, kind of like shy allusions to things, and the very like Whedon-esque self-referential, self-aware humor. And this is like a specific like 80s 90s brand of humor where it's not self-aware at all. All the characters are being deadly serious, but because of the context of the situation, they're all made to look like idiots.
Yeah.
And that's hilarious. I love that. I think we should do it more. I kind of try to leverage that in some of my own works because there's some things that just shouldn't be taken seriously all the time, and that's most things, in my opinion.
You just love a fictional idiot.
Yeah.
You love a fictional himbo or bimbo in almost any form.
Well, and I love making fun of people who take themselves too seriously.
I don't know how you ended up with me then, babe, because especially at the beginning of our relationship, I took myself, like, super seriously.
Did you make fun of Jess?
I did. I do.
But in a way that wasn't offensive, so I've, like, loosened up since then, but...
I could kill you, but I like you.
That was amusing, Jester. Do it again.
No, I won't destroy you this time. But yeah, between sort of, like, the caliber of humor being employed here and just the sheer dripping 60s style sci-fi over-the-topness of it all, those are the two things that appeal the most to me in this.
Yeah, but I kind of, I don't know. You might have said this, but I kind of want you to go a little bit deeper into it.
Okay.
But why? What about the structures? What about the things that you're talking about?
That's fair.
Like,
okay.
get a little bit more into that instead of just being like, I liked it.
Again, this specific brand of humor, like, it's all these characters take themselves very seriously. They're not aware that they're in a funny movie. And I find that kind of a tiresome trope because every movie is like, oh, I'm in a funny movie.
It's the Whedon-esque tongue-in-cheek.
Most ones that came after, like, 05 are like, oh, I am in a funny movie, I am funny.
Joss Whedon really made that a big part of I guess, Hollywood, which is sort of this sly, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, self-referential. But that's not for everything.
Yeah, like, it's fine as far as it goes. I actually quite enjoy it. I'm burnt out on it because it's everything right now. And
yeah, I agree with that.
And that's largely because most of the quarters of the MCU have adopted that style of humor now. And I'm burnt out on the MCU.
60% of what comes out of the box office is
the MCU,
up until recently,
like
has been the MCU.
But the reason I like this specific brand of humor in this movie is because it's a great way of employing critique.
Yes.
Because like we sort of alluded to earlier, like it's definitely jabbing at sort of the image focused and not substance focused nature of a lot of political figures and people in power.
In fact, there's a point when the aliens are being very, very petty and they put their own faces on Mount Rushmore.
Yes. And it's that kind of thing. It's a clever send-up, and you can't do that if you're being tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah. Well, and it's also kind of poking at a certain kind of pacifism that tries to masquerade as being enlightened, but it's really just being indecisive.
Yeah, it's the both sides have a point liberalism.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, I'm sure there's reasonable people on both sides of this conflict. We just need to compromise.
Yeah.
And if one side of the conflict is a group that just wants to murder everybody, then compromise is just murdering half of everybody.
Yeah. And
that's not a great solution.
Yeah, it's all about, like, I'm a pacifist because I'm so enlightened. But it's just... really, I don't want to make the tough decisions, and I don't want to rock the boat.
I do want to make a fun little comment on the actual pacifist, the
Starseed.
Shown,
Barbara.
Yeah, Barbara is shown that she's like, oh, I'm kind of against this, and everybody's a child, blah 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 blah, and like very...
So everybody, she's a very like hippie. We're all children of the earth. I'm sure they've come in peace, but the moment
that shit hits the fan and somebody that she actually kind of likes, Danny DeVito, is in trouble, and she fucking murks this alien.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Well, and of everybody, she's the one who like snaps out of it. Honestly,
first.
Kind of fastest because she
before
sees
the president or anyone else.
Yeah, she was the like sort of pacifist, nature loving hippie flower child, whatever. And but the moment she sees them murder everybody, the first time they come down to Earth, she's like, this is bad news.
She goes back to drinking, which probably is not a good scene, but.
Yeah, but she also, she wakes up fast, and she's like, I'm not gonna mess with that. And I was like, I mean, I respect that. But I feel like she's also maybe a bit of a critique of also perhaps like survivalists, because she's basically just like, I'm just gonna get myself out to like these caves.
I'm gonna retreat to the mountains and fuck everybody else.
Yeah.
I don't want to fly the plane all the way to DC. I want to stop in Tahoe.
Yeah. And I don't think her arc or her story actually holds this much weight. It's not even it's not even enough to really support this. But like, it could also just be a critique of people who are pacifists, who like, they like the aesthetics of being a hippie and being like a woo person. But when shit hits the fan, they immediately abandon all those just to survive.
But
Which
again,
there's two sides to that reaction.
Yeah, and that's, again, something that would not land if you were using self-referential humor. That character has to take themselves completely seriously for that to work.
Well,
I agree.
I think it's impressive how this is a difficult tone to strike, to get right. And it's impressive the control that Tim Burton and script writers and stuff had to be able to make this all work and feel lighthearted while also being a critique.
Well, yeah, like, it's a film where the characters do not tell jokes. They are jokes.
Yeah. And everybody is poked fun at. There is no, like, I'm punching down on a particular group. It's literally everybody here is being made fun of, like, equal opportunity, but like, in a light, teasing way.
I have seen other works attempt for this kind of humor and fall down because there's very clearly, like, a point of view or a character that is being served by that humor, and it's like, and this is the person who's actually the smartest one in the room and is right about everything.
This is the right, correct side and the correct point of view.
And it ends up coming across very, like, Mary Sue, Gary Stu kind of thing.
And just kind of heavy-handed.
Yeah.
And there's just something that's not as effective in that approach.
Yeah.
This one's really great because it's like,
everybody's got something.
This is a ridiculous situation, and all of these different factions would probably respond in ridiculous ways.
Yes.
because it's just ridiculous, and people are inherently
absurd.
And
I love that. And like, I like to use that kind of humor in my stuff as well, where it's like, the characters are the jokes. The situations are the jokes. It's not really people telling jokes in the course of the story.
Yeah.
And that's also a really handy way of critiquing systems of power and the ways that people think about certain things. You can kind of sneak, jabs and pokes at things like that.
Yeah.
So that's me.
Yeah. Well, why don't we do CN first?
Yes.
Because I'm sure you have things
More
to say. So, what did you take away from this scene?
I took away like I said before, that thing about the Pierce Brosnan character and the Sarah Jessica Parker character just accepting their fate and being like, well, I'm going to say what I need to say.
That is kind of profound in the middle of an otherwise very silly movie.
Yeah, I and at first I didn't pick up on it until Jess said something. I was like, wait a minute. And then also just like the amount this movie is referenced like by other people that I did not know what they were talking about.
It's all starting to click together.
Yeah. Like, oh.
Well, and I feel like probably a lot of movies since then have also taken some inspiration from Mars Attacks.
Definitely.
Not in the last, 10 years, probably, but
in the wake.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like Attack the Block also had a few moments in there that are very similar.
Attack the Block.
Attack the Block is so good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, if we did another Alien Mayhem May thing, we might do Attack the Block, because...
I mean, that one has a lot more hard-hitting social commentary in the
Yes,
subtext of it.
It does.
Oh, I'm done now.
Oh, okay, then.
A small dessert portion.
Is there anything that gets your creative juices, going,
I mean,
that you'll throw back in the stock pot?
I mean, Tim Burton style in general.
Yeah, it is your aesthetic. I mean, it's funny because you're like, we were just talking in the Earth Girls Are Easy episode about how, you based your personality around, Tim Burton's Beetlejuice.
Yeah. And, things that are, more in your face Burton-esque. And this, I think it's less obvious.
It really is.
Yeah.
I will say, the color grading especially.
Oh, yeah.
Because whenever you think of Tim Burton, you always think of black and white, very
cool
gothic, very
yeah.
But this one, everything is colorful. Even the
Yeah.
skeletons are colorful.
Yeah. Well, this is also, I would say, close to Tim Burton Batman levels of...
Moreover, Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's, Technicolor color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there's still, even in Edward Scissorhands, there's still that, Edward himself is that black and white palette.
Yes.
That sort of, goth, weird, Hellraiser thing. But I would say, and even perhaps in Batman, there's still a lot of, that. It's very colorful, but it's also, very gothic. So there's a lot of, there's bright neon colors against black, backgrounds.
This is probably the brightest movie.
This is probably the brightest one. And again, once it's pointed out to you that this is a Tim Burton property, you're like, oh, of course.
Well, and the Danny Elfman soundtrack.
Yeah.
And, it all starts to come through.
But until then, you might actually miss it. Yeah, because it's still a little bit, it's just different enough from his regular aesthetic.
That you might miss it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. I feel like if, who would you be today if you had seen Earth Girls Are Easy and Mars Attacks when you were a child?
I might wear more color.
Might have inspired you to be.
I'm wearing a tie-dye t-shirt right now, but in general.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is it tie-dye? It's so faded, I didn't even know.
You could re-tie-dye it.
I could. I didn't tie-dye it myself, but I could tie-dye it myself.
Mm-hmm. You could reintroduce the color.
I have never tie-dyed anything, fun fact.
It's
That
really
would be so
easy.
fun.
Yeah.
I really want to.
Tie-dye party.
I got a kit for my last birthday. This does not need to go in here, but I got a kit for my last birthday because I hadn't tie-dyed anything and I haven't used it yet.
Embrace the colors.
Embrace it.
Follow the path that I took. Go from minimalist colors to color.
That's going in there. I feel like this is important character information
Character
on
development.
you, Cian.
Let that color shine.
Mm-hmm. All right.
All right.
Okay,
kids.
let's get into
Buckle
the
up.
Mitch part
We're gonna talk about vibes and aesthetic in this one.
and how it influenced you creatively.
So
That's the heart of this.
the heart of this. I can only describe this movie as a more R-rated version of a Looney Tunes film.
Oh, yeah.
Is it more R-rated than Army of Darkness? I mean,
No, than a Looney Tunes film, he said.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
but it's kind of in the same playground, I
Let the man
guess.
speak.
My analysis. My dessert round.
Get off of my dessert round,
Yes,
Jessica!
This is also a table flip, so get out of here.
Just a spoon starts emerging onto the side.
So, Looney Tunes aesthetic aside, it's just, I love this movie. Like, I occasionally come back to it every now and then, just so that way I can absorb the ridiculousness that is this movie. This is almost on par with Army of Darkness in, like, levels of aesthetic, just inspiration.
What would you say, as a graphic designer, how would you describe the difference between Army of Darkness and Mars Attacks? Because I feel like those visual languages,
good question.
And I feel like that also directly relates back to you and your creativity.
Okay, so if I had to think, Army of Darkness is that level of camp, that it's more like, you know, chiller fun. It's like super dark and edgy, but also kind of fun. Like, kind of grossy.
It takes itself seriously in a completely different way.
It takes itself seriously in a completely different way. Mars Attacks, on the other hand, oh god, what would be a good font comparison for Mars Attacks? Think like the Goosebumps font.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's stupid and silly, and it knows what it's talking about, because
it does not take itself seriously.
It does not.
But the characters do.
Yes.
What about colors?
Well, yeah,
because I feel like Army of
colors.
Darkness trades mostly in
Blacks
and
okay,
browns.
yeah, okay, so color grading. Army of Darkness is blacks, whites, like deserty, kind of like
blue, all blues and grays and blacks, browns, like sort of. I mean, but there's still
and
a lot
also
of
blood. Like,
yeah,
like the
lots
color of
of
blood.
like bright blood.
Yeah, Mars Attacks is more like primary colors. So you have your blues, you have your reds, you have greens, green especially.
Yeah, they both kind of take place in have significant desert portions, but it's framed completely differently.
Yeah, because the desert of Mars Attacks is more like, you know, Las Vegas, kind of.
1950s.
1950s Vegas. You know, you have the showgirls running around. You have a lot more neon lights going on,
sequins
and boobies, and like, you know, feathers and that kind of aesthetic. You don't really get that in Army of Darkness, because it's all about the grime and the grittiness and like the ugly aesthetic and that sort of stuff.
Drippy gooey ooze.
And the only drippy gooey ooze in Mars Attacks is
their
the alien brains.
Yeah.
Popping at
Which
the end.
makes sense.
Well, and they're both Looney Tunes, but I feel like they're Looney Tunes in different ways.
Mars Attacks is Looney Tunes more with Bugs Bunny and Marvin the Martian. That kind of logic.
That exaggeration
Duck
of
Dodgers and the 24th and a half century.
Yes.
That sort of logic.
Yeah.
Whereas with Army of Darkness, it's closer to
Wile E. Coyote.
Wile E. Coyote or Yosemite Sam kind of.
Yeah, Army of Darkness has the more exaggerated, like almost like body twisting stuff, whereas Mars Attacks has a much more it's the
zany devices.
Yeah, the zany, crazy death trap devices.
What's funny about that, though, is Tim Burton is the one that did Beetlejuice, right?
Yeah.
So Tim Burton is known for Beetlejuice and like that weird
elongating too.
stuff.
And he doesn't use it at all.
He doesn't use it in this one.
Well,
it comes up in Army of Darkness,
which was Sam Raimi.
which is like, it's
they're in conversation with each other.
Yeah.
But I think too that's another show of like skillfully Tim Burton is using a different set of techniques for this film.
He's like, this is what they would expect from me. This is what I'm going to give them.
Yeah, he's you know, one of the things I really like about early Tim Burton is he showed a lot more range. Before he kind of got stuck in his sort of like Tim Burton aesthetic. There was like
Depp being a pale weirdo.
Yeah.
I want to also blame that on Nightmare Before Christmas, because I feel
but
like that one kind of
like he got trapped in his like weird. This is what a Tim Burton movie looks like. During and after the Sweeney Todd days.
Well, and
that's when all of his stuff started becoming like really templated.
You're not wrong.
You could also argue that it might not have been Tim Burton that did it to himself. It might have been that Hollywood was like, no, we want this look.
Yeah, the producers
this one.
We're not knocking on Sweeney Todd because we love that film too.
Yes.
But it was sort of the beginning of the era of every single one of Tim Burton and or Johnny Depp's movies looking exactly the same.
Yeah. But yeah, so how do you think... these are two different sources of inspiration for, you know, that kind of how you think about and the kinds of aesthetics that you're drawn to, but they're similar but distinct. So
how do you decide to pull from what and when?
Yeah.
Depends on what the piece that I'm working on is used for.
Well, yeah.
So, for instance, if it's a little bit more serious, you know, it's going to come from this. But if it's going to be...
Which is saying something, because this is
Yeah.
not very serious.
Well, no. This being like, generalize this, not this movie this. This movie this would pull for, I guess, like, some of the board games that we've created.
Yeah.
Like, Gene Shuffle, for instance, I got, like, a whole bunch of that kind of inspiration.
Like mod style.
Like, mod
shady,
style.
mid-century.
Like,
yeah.
you know, spirally and kind of colorful. Like, that aesthetic is going to be drawn from something like this movie. As opposed for Army of Darkness, it's more like, if I need something to be...
Like gothic horror, but stupid.
Yes. Which we haven't done yet.
Not yet.
So, it pulls inspiration, but it hasn't really pulled a concrete inspiration.
Well, yeah, it's
Like
not like
a
one-to-one.
It's not a one-to-one comparison right now.
Yeah. But the things that you took away from Mars Attacks are colors
Mm-hmm.
and anything else?
Colors and, like, just how things are built and look. So
The framing of everything.
Yeah, the framing and, like, just the aliens' objects. Because, let's be honest, the spacecraft themselves are very, very kind of boring. They're like...
Well, they're supposed to be
Yeah.
that
That's
literally
literal
archetypal
Yeah.
flying saucer.
Yeah, but everything associated on the inside is not that. It's not boring. It's not like that.
Well,
like,
yeah.
it's all bubbly and it's weird.
Well, yeah, they have like a distinct visual
Yeah.
language that they use, and a lot of it's glass domes.
Yeah, glass domes.
They wear them, they
It's-
store specimens in them.
It's doofy.
And,
it's like
and sequence.
orby, and they got sequins, and they got colors,
And they have this like weird device where they just they put on the aliens just like walk through this like device that like
It looks like
closes
they-
on them and like vacuum packs them in their
It looks like an injection molded plastic thing.
yeah from
Yeah.
the zoo.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
ka-chunks.
yeah, a
Space
vacuum
suit.
packed spacesuit around them, and it's really fun. All that technology stuff that they show is just very like mad science, ray
It's-
gun gothic fun.
It's beautiful, and like it inspires me to just like, okay, well,
Well, is it like the tactility of it?
yeah, it's the tactility. So you have like, you can create a layering of visual keys whenever you're referencing something specifically.
I feel like you are always really attracted to, because you are a design person, you're always really attracted to designs that are very, very consistent, which like I am too on an aesthetic level, but I feel like you take it a step further. You want, it's like specifically you look for shapes and designs.
Like the
So like,
shape
cause
cohesion.
we talked about War of the Worlds, incidentally another Alien movie,
Yeah.
and how their tripods and how that like
It
that
matches their body
shape
plan.
is reflected through
Yeah.
everything that we know about those aliens. And here it's like
It's
glass bubbly stuff.
like their whole physiology, it kind of permeates
It
throughout.
looks like a light bulb. Everything.
It permeates throughout everything that's associated with them, except for the saucers. Because the saucers, they're the thing
that kind of sticks out for you
the most.
because you're like a shapes person.
Yeah, and so like, if you wanted to really tie in that whole shapes dynamic, you should have had that.
Like a really
bubble on
tall
top.
bubble on the top.
yeah,
Mhm.
and it would have been perfect.
Okay, so this is going to be a weird poll,
Okay.
but I feel like in terms of like alien shape language feeding into their whole culture and weird glass bubbles and green slime, the Jimmy Neutron movie.
Yes. 100%
The
yes.
Yolkians, I think,
The
were
Yol-
inspired by this movie.
Oh my god, you're right.
Because they're like glass bubbles full of green slime
Uh-huh.
trying to take over the world.
And there's also oh my
And all
God.
their technology is egg-shaped.
It's egg-shaped or chicken-shaped.
Or chicken-shaped.
And it all kind of cohesively fits together. Yes, it's silly and stupid, but you know that this technology is represented by this culture.
You know exactly where it's
You
coming
you
from.
look at it and you instantly know that's a Yolkian thing.
Yeah. So,
Which Jimmy Neutron was very influential for me.
I'm sure that we're gonna watch that at some point.
Probably.
I've never
Actually,
seen it.
I prefer the series to the movie. The movie is kind of eh. The series is great, though.
They both have their redeeming qualities.
Yeah.
So, Hammometer.
Oh, God.
This movie is a 9.9, only because Army of Darkness is the scale.
It needs to hold the 10 spot.
It needs to
itself.
hold the 10 spot by itself, unfortunately. Let's see here. Let's break down these. The all-star cast gets 3 points. Tim Burton gets 3 points.
by himself.
By himself. The alien shenanigans that takes place. The Looney Tunes' way of murdering the human population. That gets 3 points. Jack Nicholson, because he plays 2 characters, he gets 2 points.
I hate to break this to you, but you've come up with 11.9.
Yeah, that's...
Did I really?
Dude, yeah.
Neither of you can do math!
Fuck.
Does
All right.
the hammometer have to be accurate? Can't it just be hammy? Like, does the breakdown?
Record scratch. Wait a second.
I'm the only one in the room who can do math.
9. Shit, you're right. Okay.
I hate to break it to you, but...
Alright, so we're gonna make that a 2, and we're gonna make...
I mean, maybe you should just go with
That
your
too.
original, authentic, off-the-cuff
Gut feeling.
gut feelings. Yeah, and just
And-
be like, this is like Army of Darkness. It surpasses the, like, normal scale.
Yeah? No. You're right. Unrecord scratch.
I'm not bad at math. I was right the whole time.
I was right about this movie the whole time.
I
This
said
is-
what I said.
In fact, this movie is 11.9.
This one goes to 11,
It goes off the scale, but not to beat Army of Darkness.
which
So-
is a 12.
Which goes into the, like, the
Stratosphere.
nth degree.
No matter how hammy a movie gets, it will never be as hammy as Army of Darkness.
hmm
So therefore, the scale, it slides.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
apologize, dear listeners. Let's see here. All-Star Cast gets 3. Tim Burton. Jack Nicholson gets 2 because he plays 2 characters. And then Danny Elfman, for his score, gets a 0.9.
All right.
Like the
Thus-
theremin.
11.9.
All right, so
The theremin and the frantic choral background singers.
Uh-huh.
let's see. All right, so on the cheeseometer.
I feel like the
Cheeseometer.
I feel like the Pierce Brosnan Sarah Jessica Parker scene earns a lot of points.
Yeah,
by
I was
itself
gonna
'cause
say-
it's schmaltzy and sentimental.
I was about to say, like, this is at least a 5. I don't think it's the cheesiest movie
No.
I've ever seen, but it's like a 5 or a 6, and I won't elaborate. This is since we're going by vibes, I'm not going to break it down.
I would... Okay, so I would like to elaborate a little bit on your cheese scale. Like, I appreciate Cedric and Neville's, like, you know, protect their mother, like, aesthetic. I enjoy that. That's cheesy to me. I also like Richie...
And his grandma.
And
Richie
his
and
grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, that's cheesy, and I love it, too.
Well, I think it's also, I would say, as badass as it was that Cedric and Neville, like, jumped in to protect the president, something about that strikes me as very cheesy and not hammy.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like a couple of kids, like, we're just a couple of, like, regular,
Scrappy
like,
kids.
middle
Yeah.
school kids, and we're gonna save the president.
Yeah.
yeah,
it's
that's
like
cheesy. And
Yeah.
I love it.
Deliciously cheesy.
Yes.
Because we decided that cheese was sweet plus cringe.
Yes.
Mhm.
So there are
That
a
checks
few
out.
things that
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can point to and be like,
Yeah.
that's sweet plus really cringy.
Mhm.
Like, sweet plus well, I don't even know about, like, it's sometimes cringy, but a lot of the time it's just, like, it's sweet and it's not over the top. It's like...
Schmaltzy is a good word.
Schmaltzy is the word.
But I feel like
to use.
schmaltzy is really difficult to define as well.
Well, yeah.
Is
This is art. It's
Is-
hard to define.
Is
Yeah.
schmaltz what you get with whenever you meet camp and cheese?
I'm not going into this.
All right. Well, anyway, I was gonna say this one's probably like a 5 or a 6 on the cheeseometer.
Yes.
Chisometer.
Cheeseometer.
It doesn't get too sentimental, but it does have its moments.
I like chisometer. That's fun.
Cheeseometer. And how about you on the beefomatic
I mean,
hunkomatic meter?
We do have Byron,
Oh yeah, Byron.
but he's really it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
it's kind of low on
and
hunks.
it's low on the boobies too. Like we've got some showgirls in there. But,
Yeah.
I would say this rate's maybe like a 6.
Really? That
Yeah.
high? That
Well,
high?
I'm taking 5 to be like sort of in the theoretical average hunkiness in a movie. And then when you start getting below 5, it's
So,
like
Is average just like there was nobody interesting at all, and then when you get below 5, it's like
You start
this was
losing
like I
points.
didn't even want to see that.
yes.
Ooh.
Okay.
What would
Like-
be a 0 on that meter?
Can't we take away points for Danny DeVito?
No, we love Danny DeVito.
Don't shame Danny
How dare you.
DeVito.
Danny
We stand
DeVito.
Danny DeVito, but Danny DeVito is not a hunky.
Yeah.
Well, no, he's not, but they don't
But
show
he
him
also,
shirtless.
yeah, like they're not trying to.
But Byron takes off most of his armor and is in a cool muscle suit at one point.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, I don't know. Is the beefometer, is that like too body shamey?
You're asking me to look for hunks. I'm gonna look for hunks.
Yeah.
I know. I'm just trying to like let's gut check
That-
if we should add
It's-
beef to this sandwich.
It's not body shaming if we accept Danny DeVito. Like, I mean, there's no body shaming here.
But is Danny DeVito a beefcake? Is he a hunk?
He is
He's
for
for
Barbara.
somebody.
Yeah.
He's for somebody.
Yeah, but you can make that argument for
Babe.
so
No.
there must be logic to the beefometer.
No, there does not need to
You saying, "Oh, I'm not going to elaborate on my cheeseometer."
be. But everybody else needs to have
No,
logic.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for point breakdowns based on who. I'm just like,
No.
okay.
No.
Yeah, I know. I'm.
Does
I don't know why I am this way.
does Chicky need a meter too?
I don't. Can you think of one?
Hmm?
I said the sauce.
Oh, how saucy is this?
Oh my god,
Ooh,
that is a
that's
really
good.
fucking good meter. Jesus.
Shit.
Okay, how horny is this movie?
Well, there was the lady who, like, the beehive alien lady. And
Yeah.
so,
It's so short-lived, though.
yeah, it's
But-
not really saucy.
Well, Martin Short by himself gives it a little bit. Like I
That's
think
more
it would be.
skeezy
That's
than saucy,
creepy.
though.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's her scale.
it's really the only introduction. It's only the really only little bit of horniness that there is.
It's true.
There was some sex happening.
In
one
the
of
trailer.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
were
That
in
gets
the
a little bit
trailer.
of sauce.
Yeah, I would give it a 2 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's not very
Yeah,
saucy.
I was gonna say
Not
it's
very
pretty
saucy.
low on the saucy. What about Earth Girls Are Easy though?
Oh,
there's
That's
so saucy.
saucy as fuck.
There's not a rating for that. Just saucy as fuck.
It might be like the standard of the sauce.
It might be the tin.
It
It's
might
like
be
the
the
cap.
Good.
Yes, that's a good meter. I like that. So we've got some sauce on our
We don't have to
sandwich
do all of them
now.
all the time.
We don't.
We'll just pick and choose them as we feel like it.
And is this one like? I don't think this is a gourmet movie. This isn't a Sir. This is a Wendy's.
No.
I need to even look up. Like I used to have like a whole
No, I
note.
feel like it's another junk food.
Yeah, I feel like this has again we've had a lot of junk food lately. I feel like we need to add something to this
A nuance
that is
junk
not
food.
a junk food from Alien Mayhem May.
But it's Alien Mayhem. It's a junky genre.
No, how about this? Let's just do what we do and just be like, okay, well, this is a junk food. What kind of junk food is it? It's a Gushers.
It is a Gushers.
Well,
It's a
It is-
juicy, fun nonsense that melts in your mouth, and it's so good.
moreover, like it's any of those like gimmicky '90s candies. So your Gushers, your tongue tattoo for by the foot,
Your push pops?
maybe ring pops,
Ring pops. Yeah.
because that involves finger biting too if you do it wrong. So yeah,
Like other rating systems is half-baked, junk food, fast casual, comfort food, fine dining, gourmet. So this is a Wendy's, a feast, nothing burger or empty calories, and health code violation.
this is firmly junk food.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
agree.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think there was also another, there was an XY, access,
We're
and
not
I
getting
can't
that
remember
far
what the
into
Y
it.
axis was. I
Do we
didn't
need
write it
more-
down.
Do we need more graphs? Do we need more
No.
charts? Do
Let me,
we need
attach a
millimeters?
graph to each of these episodes to show you where they fall, and therefore you can begin to curate your experience. Maybe you only want to listen to junk food stuff.
I mean, if you want to do that and put it on the website.
Maybe. We'll have to check into that, listener, but I don't
There's
know.
a website?
There will be
There
soon.
will be a website soon. I just don't know, will that involve... So we have a graphics person, but we also are weird with the math stuff, so...
It doesn't have to be perfectly correct.
But here's
What?
Here's the thing. We have a maths guy. He just tells me what the numbers are, and I put them in the graph.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, and, you could just PowerPoint that shit.
Well, I mean, he could also just make the graph, and then
Yeah.
I could just make the graph pretty.
Yeah. Well, by our powers combined.
No.
We are
Okay.
a millennial commune.
Since this was junk food, we didn't bust out the china for this. We don't actually have dishes for this one.
We just had to throw away the paper cartons.
Yeah, we have to, get the trash together.
Mop up the gushers juice.
Wipe the, sauce that has dripped on our, shirt or whatever
the
and stained it.
the party flail.
Although there wasn't that much sauce, so
Mm.
probably didn't get too much on the clothing. So you also don't have to worry about the dishes. You never really do have to worry about the dishes, dear listener, but you can give us your trash and we will throw it away for you.
Or we'll watch it. Your trash.
And we're walking.
Just in the episode.
I laughed, Jamie.
Thank you.
So we'll go ahead and take care of that for you. Thank you so much for joining us today on this experience.
Mhm.
We hope you enjoyed Mars Attacks, and if there's anybody else who you think might enjoy coming to dinner with us and watching one of these crazy movies, go ahead and send them a link. We would love to have them. And you can find us on Instagram at media_morsels and, drop a comment there for us if you want. We're going to try to post a little bit more regularly from here on out. We'll see how that works because we're a small team and none of us likes the social media, but we're going to try for you guys because we really want to connect with you. And we hope to see you again next week, possibly for more Alien Mayhem. We'll see. And we will save you a seat.